This is my gift. My curse. Who am I?
Your favourite twat, and that's Sonic Hat Calamity Hatcher, here today to talk about why, in a world of cinematic universes, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 1 is still so important. Let's swing right into things. In the 90s, the Spider-Man animated series was just everything to me. I would come home from school and switch straight to Fox Kids to watch Peter's battles against his greatest villains. Rerun after rerun, I knew the series inside and out. I loved it. It was perfect to me. I would watch it every second I had. I'd occasionally convince my parents to buy me a Spider-Man comic as I grew older, and everything was already familiar to me because of this iconic show. This was just my jam! The iconic Aerosmith theme tune, the amazing characters and plotline. This was the foundation on which I judged all other Spider-Man media before I was able to consistently read comics. This show first sparked my aspirations to be Spider-Man. As a kid, you would find me in my room, Spider-Man mask on, punching plushies across the room and pretending to web them back to me. Spider-Man was my idol. I began to set every moral code I had around him. With great power comes great responsibility. That meant something to me as a kid and still means something to me now. Yeah, fair warning, I didn't hate The Amazing Spider-Man, but more on that in another video. Peter Parker was like me. I mean, of course he was. That's how the character was written. But I resonated with Peter Parker. I was not a normal child. I was obsessed with Marvel and Sonic. And back in those days, you got beaten up for reading Marvel comics. You got called nasty names, and amidst all of this, I felt exactly like Peter. But Peter's morals had rubbed off on me. I didn't care about revenge against the people that made my life hell at school. I wanted to help them, whether they knew it was me or not. I wanted my Spider-Man story. God, naive little Hatcher, that was a simpler time. So you can imagine my excitement when I went to the cinema with my parents and saw this for the first time. That was it. Shut me up about the Spider-Man movie. I dare you. I dare you! Every waking moment was spent thinking about the Spider-Man movie. I was 9 years old. Can you blame me? Man, I cannot express to you how excited I was. I was like Sam Jones in Ted punching a hole in a wall. You could not bring this Hatcher down. Well, at least so I thought. But I was absolutely heartbroken. I could not see the Spider-Man movie. I was not old enough. You know when you're a kid and you have these like issues and they feel like a big deal at the time, and then you look back on them and you're like, well, that was nothing. This is not one of those moments, okay? I'm still traumatized by this. I was considering everything. Drawing a beard on with black biro, standing on a friend's shoulders in a trench coat, asking around school to try and get a fake ID. Come on, I was 9 and desperate. Until one fateful day, somebody at school gave me a pirate VHS copy of Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. So, happy conclusion, right? I got hold of the movie and that was it. Yeah, it doesn't end there. My parents were worried about the violence that came with the 12 rating, and I was instructed not to watch the movie until my parents had had time to see it first and approve it. Now, I want you to appreciate something for a second. A 9-year-old boy sat meters away from the movie of his dreams for 48 hours and remained calm. But my parents are long and I couldn't be bothered to wait any longer. It was Saturday morning and I was up at 5 AM sat in front of the TV watching Spider-Man for the first time. There it was, the epic story of Peter Parker unfolding in front of my eyes in live action. The suit, oh my god, the suit, and the Green Goblin was absolutely terrifying as a child. And this was just everything I'd hoped for. Later that day, my parents had actually seen the movie and decided to let me watch it with their supervision. You can imagine 9-year-old me trying to act surprised like I'd never seen this before, but then still being just as ecstatic as the first time I saw it. But that was it, the gate was open and my parents had no idea what they'd unleashed. I burnt out the VHS copy in 2 months. 2 months. It's fair to say this film had a massive impact on me. I would carry a Spidey mask in the bottom of my school bag just in case the world started to end, and then I could help someone if they needed me. I genuinely thought that the mask would give me the powers I needed at that moment. I had so much faith in the character of Spider-Man. But does that make me look at Spider-Man 1 with rose-tinted glasses? Well, yeah, I'd say that's a fair assumption. It becomes very difficult for me to separate the film from nostalgia when I rewatch this. Now, I will say, I do not look upon the movie as favourably these days. I still view it as a classic superhero romp featuring my second favourite character in all of fiction. But there are of course flaws that I see now that I didn't see as a kid. The first glaring issue is I am now completely aware that this is a fully grown man playing a teenager. Now I gotta be honest, dumb fuck kid Hatcher did not pick up on this at all. But now I'm more than aware, and to be honest, that kind of pulls me out of the movie. Toby does a great job, I'm not knocking that. But it's just really jarring for me at this point. Peter Parker in this movie is solidly on point. He's a reclusive nerd, he's an amateur photographer for the school paper, bullies fuck with him constantly, he loves his aunt and uncle, he deals with the issues of having a life as both Spider-Man and Peter. It's a great Peter Parker. I know the two are not completely alike in character traits, but I do somewhat affiliate Tobey's Spider-Man to the Spider-Man of the animated series. Tobey seemed like a natural regression of the character, and as this series of films progresses, he does become more and more like the Peter Parker from the animated series. But for everything that I love about Tobey's Peter Parker, I don't particularly love Tobey's Spider-Man. Now, I want to start out saying I don't blame Tobey. This is how the character and script were written. Okay, are we clear on that? Like, don't leave hate in the comment. Are you ready? Let's go. Tobey Maguire isn't a very good Spider-Man. Now, I'm sorry if I've just shattered your childhood, but I'm sure you've heard this before. Well, guess what? I'm new here, and it's my turn to say something. Tobey just doesn't feel very Spidey in this film. Quips aren't really there. If anything, I feel it comes off more as smug arrogant. But something about this Spider-Man just doesn't gel with my idea of Spidey. There's a youthful energy to Spidey. He enjoys using his powers and taking down bad guys. But besides this one scene, Peter never really seems to be enjoying his time as Spidey. I know the stakes are dire, but if Spider-Man is making jokes when facing down a superhero civil war or the absolute annihilation of Earth by the Mad Titan, I don't see why he can't make them when fighting the Green Goblin. And again, Tobey does have quips, but they don't really come across as quips to me, more bad jokes. However, the heart of this movie comes from its characters, and they really do set up some incredible stuff. Peter's love for Mary Jane and the fact that he can walk away from her is huge. The chemistry between Peter and Harry is brilliant. You genuinely feel the love between the two of them, even if Franco does seem stoned half the time. Kirsten Dunst does pretty well in the role of Mary Jane. She's not the MJ that I know and is kind of written as a damsel in distress, but she does a decent job with what she's given. Aunt May and Uncle Ben are great. Defoe shines as Norman Osborn, even if it's slightly cringy at times. And J.K. Simmons cemented himself as the J. Jonah Jameson, to the point where he reprised his role in the rebooted MCU Spider-Man series. The film is an absolute cheese fest, and for that reason I kinda love it. This is a soap opera of a film, and if you think about it, that's comic books. It displays very human characters, dealing with very human issues. Love, loss, friendship, family, madness, it's all displayed by these multi-dimensional characters. Sam Raimi strives to tell a human drama of a man finding his place in the world and puts it into a superhero setting, which in its essence is the story of Peter Parker. That's where I really can't fault this movie. You connect with these characters on such a deep level. 9-year-old me saw myself as Tobey's Peter, be it 19 years younger, but this was my comic book Peter. So for me, this was the character I'd related to my entire life at that point, and still continue to this day. I can sit here and tell you how much Spider-Man means to me like every other YouTuber out there who's ever spoken about Spider-Man, but, well, no, actually I'm going to, because why the hell not? Peter Parker was written as the everyman character, to give the idea that anyone could be Spider-Man, until they tried to retcon that in the comics, but they fucked that up. But as a child, I found myself bullied and as a bit of an outcast. No, this wasn't happening in my primary school, guys. This really isn't real life. But I still found myself in a similar position in life to Peter. So you can imagine what seeing this movie at the time did for me and what it still kinda does for me today. Now, as I've stated, getting the Spider-Man element of a Spider-Man movie is absolutely paramount. And as I have said, this isn't exactly my Spider-Man. There are still some good things to pick up on here. We see a fairly faithful recreation of his origin, minus the organic webs. We see him grow, we see him take on the lesson of,
remember, with great power comes great responsibility.
And I gotta tell you, this shot is definitive Spider-Man to me. That reminds me, I need to talk about another two characters. New York City and Danny Elfman's score are potentially the two most important characters in this movie. Every scene is so meticulously pieced together with NYC as its setting and that gloriously beautiful music, and throws every bit of human drama right in the center. Like in this goddamn scene. Look at this shit, are you fucking kidding me? I mean, the CGI is a little dated, but my god, this is beautiful. Oh my god, the running up the thing, and look at that sunset in the background. Oh my god, the crane flip, oh my god, the American flag, This shit just grips you, whether you're a 9-year-old boy or a 27-year-old man-child. You always feel the living, breathing city in every scene. It exudes character to the point where I don't believe this movie would work anywhere else in the world. I know Spider-Man has always been New York based, but the significance of the city is so important here, and holding its hand the entire time is Elfman's score. This is some of the most iconic music in film. I put Spidey's theme up there with Duel of the Fates, Jurassic Park, and many others. Although, to be honest, a lot of it is Star Wars. It's just so iconic, it lifts your spirits, it inspires hope exactly as it's meant to, which is something that has to be said for the film in general. It makes you empathise with Peter Parker and root for him on his quest from boy to man. Peter Parker is so indicative of everyday struggles, and this movie wears that on its sleeve. This film in a way is the complete package. It's grounded yet fantastical, it's human yet spectacular. It's a perfectly cheesy portrayal of one of my favourite characters. And for that reason, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. It's not the perfect Spider-Man movie. It's solid throughout, has a massive heart, and it still managed to grip me today as much as it did when I was a 9-year-old child. Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 1 still matters today and should be remembered in the comic book movie Hall of Fame. It is a fine example of quality filmmaking from every standpoint, especially for the time. There is something about this movie that will always matter to me, and I'm sure to you too. But what did you guys think of Spider-Man 1? Let me know in the comments, slap a like on this video if you enjoyed it, and consider hitting that subscribe button so you never miss out on any of the latest Calamity Hatcher content. I'm so close to 1,000 subs, guys. Please help me out and let's make this happen. You've been you, I've been Calamity. Take care out there during this difficult time, because that's what it takes to be infinite. I'll see you guys very, very soon. Take care.